Good evening and welcome to the Dollar Dogs and Beer Podcast. I'm your host, Andrew. Joining me tonight is Joe. How you holding up, man?
Holding up, man. Holding up. It's already 1-0 in the second inning at Wrigley tonight, so I'm a little nervous.
It's a good start. It's a
The
good
wrong
start.
way.
It's a lot better.
The wrong way.
It's a lot better than my weekend win. I mean, Acuna made a hell of a throw Friday night, and then that was pretty much the highlight of the whole series. The bullpen blew it yet again yesterday. Shocker. I know. I'm so surprised. It's not like that has been happening for the entire season for Atlanta. What can I say?
If anyway, only there were bullpen arms available.
So Joe, what are you drinking? I know. Yeah, well.
Yeah. As far as what I'm drinking, I'm trying to stay level-headed with the Cubs and things and some other stuff. So I'm just drinking straight Pepsi Zero tonight. Trying to stay on the level.
Good for you. I'm going with Sour Monkey because I'm pretty sour at the shit going on in Atlanta this season. I'm at that. I'm at the point where you were probably about this time last year with the level of fed up and lack of action and other general comments, shall we say?
Something like that, yeah.
I mean, I'm not ready to put my fist through the TV yet, but yeah, I'm not pleased with this season. That's for damn sure. All right, so in slightly tongue-in-cheek note, the White Sox finally sweep a series. It took the entire first half of the year plus, an extra 10, 11 games. But the White Sox finally have their first series sweep of 2025. The last team to complete a sweep, they battered the Pirates this weekend 27-7 for the entire series. I mean, I know the Pirates have been bad, but Jesus, that's awful. They also racked up 34 hits in the series. Cool note here, Michael Tauchman became the second White Sox player in team history to put a home run in the Allegheny River. A White Sox player hadn't done that since Jim Thome on June 29th, 2006. Yeah, back when Jim Thome still played for the White Sox. That's they were due. It's been almost 20 years.
Yeah.
He's the 52nd different player to reach the river, and that's now been accomplished 84 times total. So we always, you always like seeing the Bay shots in San Francisco, while the river shots in Pittsburgh are just as cool. And frankly, it's a nicer stadium. No offense to San Francisco. To be fair, though, being East Coast guys, neither of us have ever seen San Francisco. The pictures, it does look gorgeous, but having been at PNC in person and viewed plenty of pictures, it really is among the class of the league. And there's a reason PNC Park, no matter how bad the Pirates are or how shitty their owner is, get the highest marks for their ballpark year in and year out by anybody who grades ballpark. So,
Yeah, it's an excellent stadium. Having done a tour a few months ago, it was really neat to see a lot of the different features there. It's just beautiful. The views are just phenomenal. The view alone makes it top 5 easy. So yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, the 34 hits this weekend for the White Sox, they didn't have to face Skeens, so that probably helped a little bit.
Why didn't the Pirates throw Skeens out in Game 1? It's not like
he pitches. He's pitching tonight, so
okay. They were trying to line him up. Okay,
they're trying to line him up, I think. So he didn't pitch. I don't think Keller pitched either, so that probably makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
that they got the weaker pitchers, which is saying something with the White Sox, but still. Congratulations to them on finally getting this monkey off their back and having a good week.
Yeah, I mean, even Atlanta had a sweep before this, and we've been dreadful. Not as dreadful as the White Sox, but not too far off either. And given the very, very different levels of expectations coming into the season, just saying. David Wright, he had his number 5 retired on Saturday, and they also inducted him into the Team Hall of Fame. And that was the funny thing, Joe, is almost 21 years after his major league debut. Quote he had for the newspaper: "I went straight from the airport to the ballpark, and I couldn't wait to see what number I was going to be. That spring, I was 72, and I would have been perfectly happy with 72. But later on, I found out that Charlie Samuels, the old equipment guy, gave me 5 because of Brooks Robinson and George Brett." Yeah, not bad company to be named in.
No, definitely not.
And, the potential was definitely there in his young career. I mean, at one point, it looked like he was going to be a Hall of Fame lock for Cooperstown. 10 years in, he was at 301, 222 homers, 876 ribbies, and 888 OPS. But unfortunately, after those 10 seasons, the injury bug derailed him. Unlike many, we've had a lot of guys where we've seen them get obliterated by the injury bug. David Wright really, he fell out of the injury tree and hit every freaking branch on the way down. He only played 211 games after that. He dealt with chronic back, chronic shoulder, chronic neck injuries, along with a diagnosis of spinal stenosis. Always the classy guy. He said later, there was nothing I could do to do the thing anymore. It took a while for my brain and heart to kind of match up with that, but I think that very, very few athletes get the ending that they want, that storybook ending. I certainly wouldn't call mine a storybook ending, but it's better than 99% of what athletes get. And I'll forever be thankful of getting that opportunity. I always liked David Wright, classy guy. He's the most recent team captain of the Mets and the only player in team history to have his number retired after spending his entire career with the Mets. He walked out to a gold-plated third base, highly appropriate. Moments after his number 5 was unveiled high above the left field seats, a plane taken off from LaGuardia ascended into view. It was just, obviously the Mets couldn't plan it like that, but that just seemed kind of perfect. He is the 35th member of the Mets Hall of Fame, the 11th individual to have his number retired, joining Casey Stengel and Jill Hodges as managers, as well as players Tom Seaver, Mike Piazza, Jerry Kuzman, Keith Hernandez, Willie Mays, Darryl Strawberry, Dwight Gooden, as well as Jackie Robinson, of course, who's retired league-wide. Extremely deserving. I mean, Wright should have been a Hall of Famer if injuries hadn't derailed his career as badly as they had. I'm really glad that the Mets aren't holding on to some, you have to make Cooperstown before we retire your number. Because if there's any player in the last 25, 30 years that I think of when I hear the team name Mets, it's David Wright. I think of Piazza too from when we were younger. I remember some of Keith Hernandez, but for our generation, David Wright was the guy.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And it's certainly nice to be. That's a pretty great company to be in. Those names you read off. So, congrats to him and congrats on the Mets for doing this so perfectly this weekend. It was great. So,
yeah, it was a really nice ceremony. I watched some of the videos from it later, and top notch. Well done, New York. Well done. All right, Joe, let's roll it into buy or sell. So it's the 2025 edition, and we have some obvious buyers, some teams that it could go some way or the other, or some teams like Atlanta that will definitely be selling. So we'll start with the buyers. Detroit, Detroit's had a hell of a season so far. I was looking through. I think the biggest problem they're going to, if you can really call problems when you're playing this well, would be pitching depth. I think they could probably use another, middle to low end starter. They obviously don't need another high end arm with Tariq Skubal anchoring the staff. It probably would not hurt them to look for a high leverage reliever, although as we'll talk about as we go through here, there are not a lot of high leverage relievers available right now. And the biggest one in the free agency has been signed. And we'll talk about that in a couple minutes. What do you think about Detroit? I'm thinking starter is probably going to be the biggest thing they go after.
Yeah, I mean, I could see them maybe making one or two moves. I also could see them really doing nothing.
Yeah.
They caught lightning in a bottle last year, and they're the first team to 16 wins this year in the majors. So, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't change it.
Yeah, absolutely. The Dodgers, who, of course, will continue to be the darlings of Major League Baseball, along with the Golden Boy Shohei Ohtani until the foreseeable future. It looks, I was looking at their depth chart. Max Muncy is due back relatively soon. It would not hurt to shore up third base or maybe get another backup utility guy. They definitely need some back-end relievers. That bullpen is not a sure thing this year, I don't think. Also, I was looking at the outfield. I think Conforto, he's been in a pretty extended slump this year. He has not been great for them out there. Another outfielder would not be a bad upgrade for them as well. I know Freddie Freeman's been slumping a lot of the year, especially lately. I think Freddie's going to bounce back. He usually does. He might be dealing with a little bit of an injury, so the break from the All-Star, the break after the All-Star game probably helped that. So I don't think that first base would be something they're going to look to upgrade anytime soon. But again, that utility guy would not be a bad idea. So when Muncy gets back, maybe they can spell Freddie a little bit at first. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think if anything, outfield makes some sense. Like you said, with Conforto kind of having this extended sort of slump. I mean, if you're from an infield standpoint or utility standpoint, there is also the possibility of DJ LeMahieu because the Yankees cut him. So, I mean, that's something where you don't have to lose anything other than money for the rest of this year. I mean, that could be an easy plug for their infield ailments, I would say.
Yeah. And he can play almost anywhere. I know his arm's not great for shortstop anymore, maybe not third base, but he's still his value is still with his defense and the fact that he can play all over the diamond.
Right. And I mean, I think that value is something that they could see, hey, we can get him for, $2-3 million or whatever for the rest of the year and not have to lose anything, in the system.
Plus,
so, I mean, to me, that's an easy fit.
The rest of the tab, which that's never a bad thing.
Well, I think they already are. I think they're paying him 22.
Yeah. So the Dodgers would be responsible for like the prorated, like 2% of the remaining prorated, and the rest of that falls in the Yankees, something like that.
Okay. I wasn't sure if that was the case since he was just flat out cut.
Yeah. Gotta love those freaking guaranteed contracts, man. You get paid no matter what.
Yeah.
Your Cubbies. What are you thinking here, Joe?
Well, I think they need at least one starter. I would say. I think, a bullpen arm maybe. I don't know exactly which direction they go with that. I think the biggest thing for them is some sort of bat that hits against left-handed pitching. Preferably a third baseman or somebody in that, that vicinity, because I mean, obviously to me, I think a person that stands out from a starting standpoint would probably be Edwin Cabrera from the Marlins or Mitch Keller from the Pirates. I feel like those, for sure the Pirates, they could probably fill both needs in one trade if they really wanted to. So we'll see what they do. I'm not 100% sure what they're going to do. I'm never convinced they're going to do what's necessary, but
yeah,
those are the 2 or 3 spots that make the most sense. Particularly that third base spot, because I mean, Shaw's had a couple of good games here lately, but it's not consistent, and they need someone who can hit.
Yeah,
especially left-handed pitching. That's where their deficit has been, because Counsell is very platoon based. It's like, I know what the numbers are for you against this, I know what the numbers are for you against that, and then I'm not going to play you. And it's just like, okay, well, if you're not going to do that, then you need to find somebody who can hit.
And I get the platoon base. I get you want to play the guys to what should be their strengths, but at the same time, sometimes you have to break the platoon and mix it up. I'll talk about that a little bit with Atlanta, but because something that's been gnawing at me for a lot of the year for why didn't we do this sooner? I'll talk about that then, but it drives me nuts, the managers that get so locked into the U platoon only against righties, U platoon only against lefties. Sometimes you just got to take your lumps and let the lefty go against a lefty, because sometimes in games you're not going to be able to pull them out in the 7th inning against a left-handed reliever, because you need that other bat in the 8th or 9th inning when it might matter more. So let them take their lumps, but that's how they get better, because you can't get better with no experience.
Well, the case in point here is Michael Busch, because he's the one who constantly doesn't play regularly against lefties. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, to have a guy who's got an 800 to 900 or 950 OPS right now, There's no reason that guy should not be in the lineup. I don't care who's pitching. It's just stupid. So I hope they kind of straighten that out one way or another.
Yeah, it really doesn't make a lot of sense at all. I mean, everybody, you could look at their left-right splits and say, well, he's only batting 196 against lefties. He only has 62 plate appearances against lefties, and I'm sorry, that's not enough. That's not enough to say this guy sucks against lefties. He should never play against lefties. 62 plate appearances, and we're 95 games into the year. That's not even a bad game against lefties. That's you can't say just because he's batting this poorly right now that he wouldn't get better.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. When you lock too much into platoon, that's what's going to happen. You got to let these guys try.
Yeah.
All right. Enough bitching about metrics. The Astros, who went from a slow start to once again being back on top of the AL West. So weird still not to say NL Central, I know, but the AL West. I know, I'm a traditionalist. Get over it. The biggest concern I think the Astros have is starting pitching right now. That their bullpen their rotation could definitely use a boost. I know they've got some guys coming back off injuries, but the offense has been good, but they're going to need more pitching to help hold it down if they make a playoff run. And let's be realistic. Even though they are on top of the West right now, Seattle's in a very good position to chase them down. And frankly, I like Seattle's team as a whole better than I like the Astros team as a whole. So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot to like with their offensive production. Their core is really strong. Their infield is really strong. But I mean, I feel like they've gotten exactly what they needed out of Hunter Brown and Valdez and those guys. So I certainly could see them just staying put and riding with it because their system works. And if they don't think it's broken, then don't, like I said with the Dodgers or the Tigers, just don't change it.
Yeah.
If your system has proven time and time again to get to the ALCS, so there's really no need to change it. I think you'll see. I mean, it kind of depends. I think because I don't know how far Seattle is back right now. But
they are 4 games back.
I mean, if they close that gap significantly this week, not to say that 1 week makes all the difference, but I think, until the Mariners can show that they can consistently do it and make you sweat, the Astros aren't going to sweat.
Yeah. Well, and remember one thing too. A few years ago, MLB moved the All-Star week back to mid-July instead of late June, early July, because they wanted it to line up with the draft, which worked so well this year with 0 prospects in attendance because their agents told them not to, because there's so much behind-the-scenes wheeling and dealing that happens during the draft because of the draft slots and this and that and everything else. So you don't have as much time after the All-Star break because it's not at the true 50% mark. It's now almost 60% of the season before you hit the All-Star break. So you don't have as much time after the break to decide whether you're going to buy or sell if you're like an on the fence team. So a hot week from Seattle and a cold week from Houston could make Houston's front office be a little more jumpy than they might have been perhaps in the past. So it's something worth keeping an eye on.
Right.
All right. So now for the Phillies. My biggest note for the Phillies is they need players to get healthy and they need players to stay healthy because that team has definitely taken its lumps this year. They definitely need bullpen. We saw. So I saw. You put out the David Robertson having tryouts for teams, and I immediately bat flag Jason, because anybody who listens to the show enough knows Jason has a very hate relationship with David Robertson. And shocker of all shockers, the Phillies signed David Robertson to a prorated 1 year, $16 million contract for the remainder of the year. So obviously he's not getting $16 million this year. He'll get whatever the percentage is left. He'll get that. I know Jason doesn't like the deal, because Jason is still pissed about the initial contract where he got hurt, barely pitched, didn't pitch well in the time he did pitch, and cost the Phillies a boatload of money. Jason, it's okay. We understand that it hurts, but this is actually a good deal and something the Phillies badly needed to do, because their bullpen has, once again, even it wasn't last year, but this year it's very much the weakest part of that team. With the exception of outfield. They kind of half-assed it last year at the trade deadline for outfield, and that move obviously did absolutely nothing for them in the playoffs. And once again, you're looking at the same situation. You have center fielders who can't hit, and that's not, that's a position that up to a point you can tolerate good defense for bad offense. But I think the Phillies are getting to the point that if they want to be serious contenders to make it out of the wild card / division round, that needs to not be the starter, because that's a gaping hole in the lineup. That's an easy out in the playoffs. They should have made a bet. They should have done something either at the trade deadline last year, as we pointed out in the post trade deadline show, or they needed to do something in the offseason. And again, just like Atlanta's many questions, Philly decided not to address them in the offseason. So Philly, they need to get this outfield figured out, because as a team, their center field numbers are pretty horrendous across the board. What do you think?
I think certainly an outfielder or two would help. I don't know exactly which. Where they play is kind of obviously up to Thompson, but I certainly they think they need another bat. That's for sure. Whether it's a outfielder, whether it's a guy who can play first and outfield, it doesn't matter who that player is. I think, and I think certainly Robinson will give him some innings and give him some length and give him some experience and stuff in the bullpen and in the clubhouse. Whether it pans out or not, we'll see. But I do think they should go after at least one more bullpen arm, maybe. I don't know if they feel they have a need or availability. I think it all kind of comes down to what you're willing to give away. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. Some of these guys could cost, Abel, Painter, and Crawford or something like that, and that would just be too much to pay, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely a concern that they have to look at, because they're dealing from both position of strength, but also at the same time, so many of their prospects are close to MLB ready. It's also in some ways position of weakness, because they don't want to give some of those guys up. I pulled up the player stats this year for the outfield for the Phillies, specifically center field. Marsh has been the starter predominantly, 78 games played. He's slashing 251, 324, 351, 3 homers, 21 RBIs, 24 walks to 60 strikeouts, with 5 stolen bases to 1 caught stealing. The other starter is Johan Rojas, obviously, who's definitely better defensively. But his bat has been unspectacular, to say the least. 227, 282, 298. He has had 1 home run. He's only had 5 extra base hits, 3 doubles, 2 triples, 12 walks, 38 strikeouts. He has stolen 12 bases. So, if he gets on, he is somewhat of a threat. But the problem is getting him on is damn near impossible because his bat's so bad. With numbers like that, if I'm the Phillies and I'm toting that out, I'm toting that at center field rolling into a playoff series. As the opposing manager, I'm like, yeah, that's going to be the 9 spot, and I'm not even going to have to worry about pitching around it or anything. I'm just going to go right after those guys, because they're not going to be able to do anything about it. So, I've been kind of checking, especially since Jason's not as available. I've been kind of listening into some more of the Philly area podcasts lately, and that's been consistently across the board from the guys in Philly that they want to see the Phillies go after somebody to take over center field on an everyday basis. That's a significant upgrade from Martian Rojas, and that I've been hearing. Obviously, this isn't Dave Dombrowski or anybody else in management talking. These guys are saying it's worth potentially giving up one of the higher end prospects to make this happen. So we'll see if it does end up happening or not. The Phillies really are, though, more than most of these playoff teams. They're really kind of forced into win now mode. Their core is starting to age. The guy who's played the most games so far this year is Schwarber at 100. Nobody else has hit 100 games played yet. So the Phillies really don't have a lot of years to wait because the core is just going to keep aging. So they either need to start making room for the younger guys to come up and get time, or they need to go and fill the holes now and make the push. So, it's hard to. I feel like they're going to be aggressive. I mean, Dave Dombrowski has been nothing but aggressive in his career as a GM. It doesn't matter what team he's been with, Red Sox, Phillies. He's always been dealing Dave. I'm just curious how deep into that prospect pool he's either going to pull up or he is going to trade away to bring players in. So, any other thoughts in Philadelphia?
No.
Okay. All right. The other NL East team that's been playing well, although not so much over the last month, the Mets have not been good. I brought this up a couple weeks ago. Do the Mets need to start being worried? And I know they're only a half game out. They're a game and a half up in the wild card. But the last month of play has been a bit concerning. They've had a bunch of pitchers going down. I know starting wise, Senga's coming back. They've got some other guys coming back off injury. So I don't think the Mets are going to really be in the market for a starter. And Edwin Diaz has been Edwin Diaz. The trumpets are blaring loudly and happily in Queens. I think the Mets, though, should be looking at, a middle innings guy or a setup guy. I don't think they need to go all in for a closer necessarily, but I think they should look for another high leverage arm in the back end of the bullpen to help shorten the bridge to get from the starters to Edwin Diaz. What do you think?
Yeah, I could certainly see them doing that. I also really could see them going for a starter. I think because anything you get out of Clay Holmes from here on out is bonus innings, as I've said the last few weeks. So you don't know when that wall is going to hit. So I think getting another starter would not be a bad idea for them. The good thing for the Mets is that they don't necessarily have to dip into their prospect pool all that much. I mean, they will obviously use a few, but like you have right now with what they have with McNeil and Alonso and whatnot, you have a logjam there where you have Mauricio and Beatty and Vientos. Like you have options, Acuna's brother. You got some options to get rid of that are major league ready, to sort of sweeten the pot a little bit for some of the bigger names, maybe if you need one.
Yeah, it's a really unique position to have that much offensive depth at the major league level already. Yeah, Luis Angel is Acuna's little brother. So you could absolutely see the Mets sending some major league ready guys to other teams, and that it's really a unique situation where you might see buyers trading with buyers. To the Phillies fans, I do not see the Mets and the Phillies consummating any type of trade because you never, when it's two buying clubs, you never trade to a division rival. It's always a bad idea. It doesn't matter the sport; it's always a bad idea. But I could absolutely see the Mets reaching out to some of the other clubs that have the pitching depth, but might have some scarcity at bats and saying, "Hey, can we do a win-win type of trade?" Yeah, I could absolutely see that. They're in a very unique position for buyers because you don't usually see this much hitting depth at the major league level that they have right now. So,
right.
It's and that offense is when it's clicking, that is a scary good offense, and not one I would want to run into in September. So, yeah, just shore up the pitching a little bit, and get out of this little slump they've been in over the last month, and they should be fine.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of New York, let's talk about the Yankees. For me, the Yankees are kind of looking a little similar to what Chicago might be shopping for. They're going to need starters. They're probably going to want to shore up the bullpen a little more. And the Yankees still have a hole at third base that they haven't really figured out what they want to do there. Joe, one name I forgot to mention when we were talking about the Cubs, and it's a name that the Yankees will probably be looking at too. Ramon Laureano from Baltimore. Oh, no, I'm sorry. He's not the third baseman I was thinking of. Never mind. Forget that thought. I had a thought for the Orioles at third base that they might look at, but Ramon Laureano is not the guy I was thinking of. He did play with us last year, which is why I thought of him, but he's not the third baseman. So Ramon Urias is who I was thinking of.
Yeah.
That might be a guy that might be getting a lot of interest from multiple teams, I would think. Chicago, New York being two of them. What do you think with the Yankees? I mean, they pulled it back out against Atlanta this past weekend, but let's face it, my Braves aren't very good this year, so that doesn't mean as much as it does most years.
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly a starter wouldn't hurt them. Plugging that hole at third base, like you said, they're kind of going after some of the same things that Cubs are going after. I certainly could see sort of a few scenarios. I think you could see if you could see Merrill Kelly and Suarez in a package deal. You could see Keller and Brian Hayes in a package deal somewhere. You even could see, if the Twins were to sell, you could see, Joe Ryan and Willie Castro in a package deal. That would make a lot of sense. Those are two guys, pitcher and a third baseman offhand that would make some sense for either one of those two clubs. So.
Yeah, agreed. All right. Let's see. Next side, the Brewers. And man, talk about a team that's just caught fire lately. They might need to upgrade the bullpen, maybe get another high leverage arm. Maybe they go for some offense, but Milwaukee's not based on waiting for the long ball. They're based on playing small ball and moving runners. And I think that's why they've been so good. They're not reliant on the home run. Like if they get the home run, great, it's a bonus, but they're not relying on it to run their offense. I wouldn't be shocked, honestly, and the way their farm system is, they are so good at developing their own talent. I wouldn't be shocked if Milwaukee makes some small moves, but really doesn't make a big splash. I mean, other than, like I said, maybe a high-end reliever if they can find one at a price they like. But I wouldn't be shocked if the Brewers kind of sit pat. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd see them staying put, I think. That would make the most sense. I mean, again, similar to Detroit and similar to the Astros, your system works. You're here every year.
Unfortunately.
Don't screw with it.
Yeah. The Blue Jays, the freaking Blue Jays, who seem to be kind of in the doldrums for a while, they've shot up to the top of the AL East. They're 3 games clear of the Yankees right now and playing some really damn good baseball. Vladdy Jr. has got to be very happy with how his club's been doing, and I'm sure they're going to be fairly aggressive buying here at the deadline. For me, I think the biggest gap for the Blue Jays, again, and this is pretty consistent for almost every team, that's buying. Everybody needs bullpen arms, and there's not going to be a ton of them available, so that should help the selling clubs this year. It probably wouldn't hurt for them to maybe find another utility bat or plus bat that they can stash in the bench for late game pinch hit. But I like what the Blue Jays have right now. There's not a lot of holes in that lineup right now.
Yeah, there certainly are less holes than I thought there were at the beginning of the year. Mm-hmm. And I think if anything, from an offense standpoint, it probably would be an outfielder to sort of shore that up a little bit. And like you said, a bullpen arm of some sort.
Yeah, maybe a center fielder to help back up Dalton Varsho, because he's been struggling this year. I mean, I know Miles Straw floats over to spell Varsho, but Varsho has not been good this year. So maybe that'll be the hole they look at filling up. Although even as he's not hitting well, he is blasting home runs every now and then. So yeah, we'll see what the Blue Jays do. Then the Mariners. Man, will this finally be the year that Dave gets to do his happy dance and the Mariners win a damn playoff series? I don't know, because it seems like they've been on the cusp for 5 years now. I think their pitching's good. I think they should get another starter because their pitching's been dinged up by injuries this year, and they too have a hole at third base that they need to fill. What else do you think we need to see out of Seattle?
No, I think that about covers it. I think if I were focusing on one or the other, it'd be starting pitching for them. Like you said, they've had guys who certainly have performed well, but they've had guys who have been up and down a lot with some injuries and stuff. So shore up that rotation.
Yeah, I mean, Cal Raleigh is giving them a season to remember, and they should do everything they can to support Cal Raleigh. I mean, here's my thought for why third base. I mean, their primary third basemen have been Miles Mastroboni and Ben Williamson. And let's be real, Mastroboni provided so much entertainment last year during the Cubs-Braves series with Brandon Gowden. But, Mastroboni's at 253, Williamson's at 254. They've hit 2 home runs in between them. And again, Seattle is not a place where you're going to see high home run numbers unless your name is Cal the Dumper Raleigh. As he's just otherworldly this year. So I definitely think third base will be a spot they look to upgrade. And again, here's my question. Seattle, you've got great pitching. You've got a couple power guys. Why don't you just do what the Brewers do and play small ball? Your ballpark is better suited for small ball than long ball anyway. I know I'll never get an answer to that, but it would make so much more sense if they would do that. Mm-hmm. All right. The Red Sox. The Red Sox, they traded Rafi Devers. They've kind of already started their, they've already kind of started the trade season off. And then they've remained hot. They are still one of the wild card teams. They're only 5 games behind the Blue Jays. For me, Joe, I think pitching is probably their biggest need right now. Honestly, losing Rafi Devers has honestly made the club better. And, Devers didn't want to be there, and it showed in his attitude and how he was playing. And the team, when they were asked about Devers being gone, we're like, yeah, he's gone. We don't care. Let's talk about our team now. And I got to say, the Red Sox team collectively has stepped up since he left. So I don't think they're going to really need to mess with the offense too much. I think pitching, because if there's the big hole when I look at that roster, it's pitching.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Okay.
Specifically in the bullpen.
Yeah, like I said, bullpen arms, good luck. The Rays, who again, like the freaking AL East this year, man, it is the bloodbath division. They're only 6.5 out and a game and a half out of the wild card right now. Other than Baltimore, the AL East is fantastic, as we were kind of expecting, although the teams are not exactly what we were expecting. For the Rays, my biggest thing is they need to have better luck playing road games because because of the weather conditions around Tampa, they got their home games front loaded and played mostly on the road the rest of the way. 37 of their last 65 are on the road. And that really kind of hurts them, because I saw a stat, Joe, over the last 5-10 years, the Rays are top 5 when it comes to home record in August and September. So that, we might see that hurt them. And so far this year, they've been great at home, 30 and 26, but they've only been 22 and 22 on the road. So they are going to need to figure that out the rest of the way. I don't really know that they need much. McClanahan's coming back. He should be coming back over the next month and a half. So he'll bolster the starting rotation. Maybe a bullpen arm to help out. Honestly, there's a lot to like about that team as it is right now.
Yeah, I mean, they're certainly performing well, and they're right in the thick of it, which I think is a lot more than we thought they would be doing. The Rays are what the Rays are. They again, like some of these other teams, they have a system that works, and they'll make a few really, really small deals, but it won't be anything consequential that really jumps off the page, at least. But they make small deals that work. They make some small abstract deal and it always works out. So
they're a team that I don't care if it's like a low-level guy who's not working for me for a low-level guy who's not working for you. I don't like trading with the Rays. They win almost every damn deal they go into. It's ridiculous. It really is. And honestly, great for their front office for somehow being ridiculous when it comes to wheeling and dealing from the big deals to the little deals, because I got to tell you right now, I got to say, trading with Los Angeles last year, I mean, yes, the Dodgers did win the World Series last year, so they would probably preemptively declare themselves the winner of that of the big trade in the offseason. But really, has Tampa lost that trade? Because I don't really think they have. Everybody they've gotten back has been a contributor to that team.
Yeah, I think you know, I'm sure they'll be fine, and I think kudos to them for particularly their player development in general, but their pitching development system is just fantastic.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, when the Rays are trading a pitcher away, that it's for a reason. But their offense this year, Joe, and I know the minor league park helps. They're number 3 in the AL right now with the 257 team average. I mean, that's not a team that if they make the playoffs, I'm particularly excited to face, because 1, I don't like playing in minor league ballparks, but 2, that's going to be a scary good team moving forward, I think. All right, and then the Padres. They need pitching, but I think the biggest thing they need is they've got a lot of guys that have been underperforming, and despite that, they're still doing pretty damn well. I mean, they are right behind the Dodgers, only 3.5 back in the division and in the wild card. If the Padres can have the guys that have been underperforming all season pick it up, and maybe they get an extra arm, because like Dylan Cease has been absolutely terrible. To anybody who plays fantasy baseball and thought Dylan Cease might be a decent pitcher to look out for, that has definitely not been the case this season. I'd really love to know what the hell happened there. I really do like the San Diego team, and that's they're a team to watch out for in the playoffs. We saw it last year. They got hot at the right time. They wiped Atlanta out. They damn near wiped the Dodgers out in what was a really, really good NLDS series. I really think they just might add a pitcher or two and say, we trust our guys to stop slumping, and good luck, Dodgers. We're going to chase you down. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you had asked me where they would end up, I don't remember where we were at the beginning of the year, but I think to be in the position they're in without Musgrove in that rotation, I certainly think they'd take where they are. I could see them doing absolutely nothing and just going, we're going to ride this thing out and see what comes of it. I do think they have too much talent offensively for it to not figure itself out.
Yeah, I don't expect them to stay down. I really don't. I think at some point it's all going to click. It's all going to click for that team, and watch out.
Yeah.
The Giants, they already grabbed Devers. Devers has been playing well for the Giants because he's now happy. He's in a good place for him. I know, great for him. Blah blah blah. You also signed a long-term deal with Boston, and I know you didn't like that they kicked you out of your spot, but really get over it. Actually, he's only been hitting 208 with San Francisco. Okay, I feel a little better now. Good. Screw up. Sorry, did I say that out loud? My bad. So they already got Devers, and he'll probably be fine next year once he acclimates to the National League pitching more. I think a big thing. Something that doesn't get talked about enough during the trade deadline is team defense. The Giants' team defense sucks. I think across the board, I think they have one of the weakest teams defensively, and they rely on the solid pitching they've had so far and the fact that they can out-club almost anybody. So I think the Giants will probably try and pick up another bat to help bolster the offense, and I really hope they look to bolster the defense a little bit, because that's defense wins championships. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Yeah, you can club your way the whole way there, but you run into good pitching. You need good defense to back up your good pitching to wait for your bats to have the chance to break through.
Yeah, I'd say that's fair.
And the last team that I still have is buying, definitely buying. I think, as much as it pains me to say it, St. Louis. But I don't really know that they're going to be true buyers because the Cardinals are rarely true buyers at the deadline. I also, they're not really in a great position despite a decent record. They're 8.5 out of the division, so they're probably toast in the division. But they're only 3.5 back in the wild card. I hesitated putting the Cardinals in at buy. I almost dropped them to still deciding, but I think they're close enough to the wild card that they will be mostly buying. For me, I think the Cardinals, they need to add starting pitching. Their rotations has not been spectacular. But I also wouldn't be surprised if the Cardinals, in typical Cardinal fashion, add as well as subtract. They might add some pitching and they might subtract in other places to help bolster for for next year. They're in an odd spot right now because a good week and they're right in the thick of things, and a bad week and they're tumbling. What do you think?
Well, I mean, they certainly need other teams to have a bad week around them, and I think with the way the Brewers have been playing, obviously that certainly doesn't help them. As far as that goes, I think obviously this is a big moving week for all of these teams, including the ones that are still deciding, which we'll get to. I think you'll know a lot more this time next week than we do now, as far as some of these on the fence type teams. I feel like, to me, I see them more as a seller because I just don't know that they're going to. I don't necessarily see them trending in the right direction. So I'd see them having probably a rougher week this week and probably selling out. I'll be happy to be wrong, and I'm sure Zach would be happy for me to be wrong too. But I think
I think the word you're looking for is overjoyed.
Yeah, maybe. So I mean, you could certainly see them getting rid of Helsley, and if they do that, then they're clearly on the selling side, and I don't think that they can get a bullpen arm to replace Helsley that's worth the same value.
Agreed. For me, 3.5 out, but getting swept coming out of the break does not help. To be honest, I wouldn't be shocked if they trade Helsley for a starter and say, we'll just do bullpen by committee and see where it goes. There are so few closers available on the market right now that they might get an offer they can't refuse, even if they're buying, because they know even if they make the playoffs, this is not a deep playoff team. This is a wild card and out, or maybe wild card and division round and out. So I wouldn't be shocked, even if they buy, if Helsley's on the move.
Yeah, I could see that too.
All right, let's look at our teams on the border. First up, I've got the Rangers. The Rangers are coming into games tonight, 50-50, 7.5 out of Houston. They're probably not going to catch the division. They are only 3.5 out of the wild card, 6-4 in the last 10, so slight momentum on their side. The Rangers were the other team I went back and forth with a bunch before putting them down here. I think at the moment the Rangers are going to lean buy, but I think they're going to be quick to flip if the team just falls. They definitely have assets that they could move, and their offense has been generally underwhelming this year, but lucky them, they've gotten so far, knock on wood, that this continues, they've gotten a healthy, productive season out of Jacob deGrom, which I love to see because I love watching the guy pitch. He's so damn good. What are you thinking with the Rangers? I think at the moment it's see how we do it, but more likely to sell.
I think right now it's sort of that stay put. I don't know that they're going to sell. I don't know that they're going to buy. I feel like if they feel like they're trending in the wrong direction, I don't think they sell. I think they have too much talent that they'd want to keep. So I'm in the stay put mode for them.
All right, next up, I've got the Twins, 48-51, just under 500, 11.5 out of the division. Well, okay, I'm just going to – we'll just say this for the Central. Nobody's catching Detroit. Not at this point. Sorry.
No.
Detroit could have an epic nosedive, and the rest of the teams behind could combine their best players and not make a team that could catch Detroit. So looking at the wild card, the Guardians are 4.5 out. Now, they are playing well right now, 8-2 in the last 10.
What about the Twins?
Yeah, I meant the Twins. Sorry, 5 games out. We'll get to the Guardians later. 5 out, 5-5 in the last 10. I think the Twins are going to be selling. I don't think they're going to stay on the fence very long. This is a team that is underwhelmed, that shouldn't have underwhelmed in what is a very, very weak division. It's time. The Twins just need to jump into the freaking rebuild.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, Sal.
All right, next the Reds, my favorite scrappy team of the Central outside of the Cubbies. 52-48, 7.5 back. So division's not likely, but it's not out of possibility. But the division at this point is between the Brewers and the Cubs. Wild card wise, they're only 2.5 out, 6-4 in the last 10. So they've got a little bit of momentum on their side. They've got a great young roster. I loved that roster at the start of the year. I still love it. The Reds, I could see them doing selective buys, even though they might not hit the playoffs this year. They've got a good young core. So if you can get some players with a little bit of team control, I think that would be worth dipping into the prospect pool to grab some of those veteran guys that can help that young core get better. Realizing that you have a chance to make a run this year, but really your big goal is next year and beyond, because that core is ready to explode and be a contender in the Central, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Probably some small buys or I mean, they could just say, you know what, the heck with it. Either way, I think they're buying. I don't know if it's going to be big or small. But.
Well, also, just speaking on the record as an owner of part owner of the Atlanta Braves, I would be willing to empty a good chunk of my farm system for Ellie De La Cruz. Just saying. Anyway, that's why I'm not overall in charge. All right, looking at the Diamondbacks next in the NL West. The Diamondbacks are right at 500 coming in tonight, 50-50, 6-4 in the last 10, but on a 4-game winning streak. I think the Diamondbacks might say, hey, we might have enough to not be complete sellers, because I know Burns is out for the rest of the year, but he got hurt early enough that they'll get some use out of Burns next year. But I could also see them saying, you know what, we have too many guys on contracts that are getting close, and we could we can get some prospects back now. I think the Diamondbacks have to look at what's ahead of them in the division and say this is probably not our year and sell. But at the same time, I could see ownership being like, maybe not. We might have a chance. I think they should sell, but I think they might do more stand pat short of a cataclysmic fall off. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that they're probably in sell territory. But given some of the things you mentioned, I could see them staying put if they just want to hedge their bets and wait and see.
Next, looking at the Royals at 48-52. Talk about a team that's been disappointing. 5.5 back in the wild card, 6-4 in the last 10, which is kind of like where they've been all year. They've hovered between 6-4 and 4-6 in the last 10 all year. They just can't get the team going. And they've got one of the best players in the entire game in Bobby Witt Jr. I think if I'm the Royals, I think you have to sell. I don't think you could trust the Royals as trying to buy right now. I wouldn't try to climb back into that wild card race. Grab something for the future and get Bobby Witt some freaking help for next year.
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely a sell, and I'm expecting Boyer to have some discussions with them this week because they're playing them right now. So, I think you could see a preview of coming attractions. Somebody like Seth Lugo, maybe coming out of the trade deadline.
Wouldn't that be easy to pick up Seth Lugo?
that would be a huge upgrade for the rotation, to be sure. They're currently down 7-4 in the 5th inning. So,
oof.
The Cubs are. So,
yeah, I figured. The Guardians at 48-50. Just below 500, but 4.5 out, and they're on an 8. They've won 8. They've gone 8-2 in the last 10. I feel like Cleveland should sell, but they're going to say no. We're still in this, and they're going to try and buy. And this is a team that benefited so much from the Francona effect, and now that he's gone, I don't know that they should really be buying heavily right now, and they should probably try to sell off what they have. So I have heard they will absolutely not listen to. They'll listen for deals about players, but they're not going to listen to for Jose Ramirez. They're not going, which I get. I mean, he's the best third baseman in baseball right now. They're not going to listen to deals about Clase, which I really don't understand, given how few closers are available. I would absolutely, if it were me, which clearly it's not, but if it were me, I would absolutely listen to deals for Emmanuel Clase. I wouldn't, I'm not going to say I'm going to make a move, but he's one of the best damn closers in baseball when he's pitching well. And I understand this year has not been spectacular, but he still has 21 saves in it. His ERA is down to 286. So he's starting to pick it up. Now the strikeouts are down and the walks are up. I understand the underlying numbers are not as good as they were, say, last season, but you can't tell me with a straight face that all of those teams that are buying that need bullpen arms would say no if offered a deal for Emmanuel Clase. You can't convince me of that.
Yeah, I see him staying put. I don't think they're going to do anything. I don't think they're going to buy. I don't think they're going to sell, given the posture they've taken. I don't know if it. I don't think it matters how good the deal is. I think they're staying put.
Yeah, I think that's a mistake. I think now's the time to sell on Clase. Push the rebuild. There's no reason not to. And just checking his contract. I mean, next year here's the thing, $6.4 million next year, and then he's got 2 straight $10 million team options with a $2 million buyout. The value might increase based on some stats, but to have 1 to 3 years of control over Clase, the Guardians could get one hell of a prospect package in return for that. I think they'd be crazy to say we're not even going to listen to offers. They should absolutely be listening to offers, even if they don't pull the trigger. All right, last team I kind of had on the fence was the Angels, 49-50, 6-4 in the last 10. They are 4 games out of the wild card. I think the Angels are kind of going to see what they have, maybe make small move here, small move there. They don't really have a lot of tradable assets. Like their farm system is still crap. It's been crap for probably 10 years now, and they can get hitters, but they can't get pitching. They have some of the worst scouts when it comes to pitching, it seems like. I feel like if the Angels sell anything, it's going to be to get some pitching depth for down the road. I don't think we're going to see the Angels make many waves one way or the other.
Yeah, I'm in stay put mode for them. That's kind of where I see it going.
All right, now let's look at the obvious sellers. Atlanta. So earlier today, and I let you guys know in the group chat because, of course, I keep track of my team because I have to. The Braves brought up a third catcher for the roster. To me, that tells it's not Murphy. It's Ozuna is absolutely on the market at this point. Unfortunately, Ozuna has almost no value as his power numbers have plummeted because of the hip injury he had earlier this year. His walk rate has gone down, and it's gotten to the point where Snitz finally, he should have done this 2.5 freaking months ago, but finally said, if Murphy's catching, Baldwin's going to DH, and if Baldwin's catching, Murphy's going to DH, because we have had a great catching battery in Atlanta. With all the problems we have had this year, our catchers have been great. Murphy had a little bit of a slump at some point. Baldwin had a period of time where every ball he was hitting somehow magically landed at an outfielder's glove, but they've been great. And Murphy is a guy, I'm sure they're going to listen to deals in the offseason as a possibility for trade because catching is so weak across the league, they can get a lot back. I don't see Murphy moving at the deadline, Ozuna's going to be gone as soon as they find somebody willing to take the deal. Now, Ozuna does have 10-5 rights. So for those who don't know, 10-5 rights are a 10-year veteran and 5 years for the same team. So he does have the 10-5 rights, which means he does have the power to veto trades. However, he knows he's not going to be playing much the rest of the way, and probably would rather play for a contending team this year, given his age and the fact that his contract's expiring anyway. So Ozuna's going to go. Iglesias is going to go. And up until last night when he served up that freaking grand slam, he had pitched decently. I think no runs for the previous 13 2/3 to 15 innings. So he was pitching a little better. And given the lack of good bullpen arms that will be available, the Braves will be able to get something for Iglesias. Looking to the offseason, they'll listen to deals for Murphy. I think they're going to listen to deals for Harris. They might even listen to deals for Ozzie. He's fallen off the table so much. And frankly, I think Ozzie needs to stop switch hitting and just bat righty. His left-handed numbers are so weak. His left-handed batting numbers are so bad this year and so weak. That's where I'm at with Atlanta. Two guys that are definitely gone. Pierce Johnson, one of our middle to setup guys, that we got from Colorado last year, the year before, who was their closer. I think they'll make Pierce Johnson available as well, because just given the lack of bullpen arms that are available. Because Atlanta at this point, they need to be loading up for 26, and they've got a solid roster that's just generally underperformed this year. This is the time to maybe restock the middle infield depth, or look for those starting pieces for next year. What do you think? Am I being too fan happy, or am I giving a pretty decent analytical thought to it?
I mean, I think the only deal that makes sense during the season, at least, is probably Iglesias. I think the other pieces, there's other, with Murphy, there's obviously the service time part of it. How much the package is going to be for him with the years that are left.
Here, I can pull Murphy.
I think the fact that Ozuna's numbers have fallen off so far, I don't think he's nearly as marketable as he would have been probably a year ago at this time. So, I mean, Iglesias to me is the one who makes the most sense as a potential player to go.
Yeah, and I realize we don't have a lot of immediately tradable assets.
Right.
Sean Murphy's contract, I mean, he's under contract through 28 with a $15 million team option for 29.
Right.
That's going to be an off-season deal. If they trade Sean Murphy, that'll be off-season. His defense,
absolutely.
I hope they don't, because we saw what happened with Wilson and with Darno. It is worth having two good major league catchers available, especially when you have one that's got great defensive metrics like Sean Murphy does. Now, the other side of that is we can probably get a hell of a haul back, because $15 million a year for a catcher with a solid bat and great defense, we'll get a good haul for that, especially in the offseason. We won't get it right now, which is why I think AA is going to listen to offers, but tell them Murphy's not on the table until the offseason.
Right.
But I love Sean Murphy. I don't want to lose him. I love his defense, but if the right deal's there, we've traded good catchers very recently by Contreras. And to be honest, I think Milwaukee got the better of that deal than we did, but that doesn't matter.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah.
Yeah. I know it's going to grind my gears for a while, but we also knew we had Baldwin coming. That's one thing that Atlanta's developed well as catchers. Shea Langoliers is playing well with Oakland. He was part of the Matt Olson trade. Drake Baldwin, right. Wilson Contreras. Excuse me, Wilson Contreras. William. Sorry, my brain's out there. We can develop catchers. We can develop pitching. It's the damn middle infield we are not developing for crap right now, and we need to. That's the prospect haul we need to get. And 3 of our top 5 picks we made in the draft were all shortstop / middle infield. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think they had a long-term vision where they thought they were going to have Dansby, and did not. So I think obviously that there was some mistakes made there with that position in particular, and that's really hamstrung you guys a lot. So
complete agreement. They should have locked Dansby up way earlier if they wanted to keep him around as the long-term answer. Anyway, the Orioles, they've got 12 potential free agents coming up. They're going to be active. O'Hearn's coming up, Mullins, Laureano, Eflin, Morton. And here's the thing with Charlie Morton. Yeah, he started awful. Let's remember he was demoted to the bullpen for a while. He's been great since he's come back. ERA between 2 and 3. I can't remember what the exact number was. He's looked almost like old grandfather Charlie again. Somebody's gonna one of these pitching hungry teams is gonna snatch him up because of his postseason experience between Houston and Atlanta. There's no way they don't get something back for him.
Yeah, I think of the 3 guys you listed on our show notes. I think O'Hearn, Mullins, and Eflin are the ones that make the most sense to me.
Yeah,
Eflin because he's pretty versatile. He can be a starter. He can be a long relief guy. He can be an opener. He can do just about everything.
And that's one thing. We watched Eflin come up with the Phillies and pitch the Phillies for a long time and just not have great success. And ever since he left, he has been a really versatile, he's almost been like a Swiss Army knife kind of pitcher. Like anything his team needs, he's there for. And teams love that this time of the year. A guy that they don't have to worry about breaking his ego by saying, hey, buddy, you're going to the bullpen because that's where we need you. Or, hey, we're just going to use you to open. Or, hey, we're going to use this guy to open, and then you're going to eat 4 or 5 innings after that. He has no issue being wherever his team needs him. And there's a lot to be said about that. Especially in light of, the way things ended with Rafa Devers in Boston. Teams like team first guys.
Yeah.
Batista is a guy I think the Orioles should at least listen to, but he's under team control through 27. So if they're not being blown away with an offer, I would be shocked if the Orioles trade Batista because their core outside of the guys that are free agents, they still have a solid core that's just underperforming as a group this year, similar to Atlanta. Solid core that's been underperforming as a group. I don't think the Orioles are going to sell everything, but anybody who's a potential free agent, they should absolutely sell on.
Yeah, definitely.
So for all those teams looking for needs, contact Baltimore. They've got players right now. For the Marlins, Yuri Perez, he's going to be gone. The most interesting piece in Miami is Alcantara. What are the Marlins going to be asking for? Because Alcantara has not been good this year, coming off Tommy John. And we expected a rough year, but ever since he's come back, he has not been good. I mean, the numbers are starting to slowly sort of trend back, but I'm not sure we're ever going to see Cy Young Alcantara again. So I'm sure he's going to – the Marlins will listen to deals for him, but I wonder if the Marlins will say, you know what, we're not hearing the deal we think he's worth. We're going to we'll try and run him back out one more year and then talk next year when we suck again because our front office is awful at evaluating talent. Also, I think Anthony Bender, Edward Cabrera, Jesus Sanchez, I think those guys are all going to be on the block. Miami is going to be they're in the midst of a rebuild again, so I expect them to be very aggressively selling pretty much anything they can.
Yeah.
What do you think Alcantara's going to get?
I don't know. I mean, to me, I know there were some Cub fans early in the year who were like, that's the guy, and it's like, no, that's not the guy.
No.
The 2 pitchers of the 2 starters in Miami, Cabrera's the guy because Cabrera's consistently good.
Yeah.
And Alcantara, if the Marlins ask for what they think he's worth based on the fact that he's a former Cy Young winner, you're not going to have anybody buy him. You're just not. I mean, a 7 ERA is a 7 ERA. I don't care if it's the first year off of Tommy John. I don't care if you pitch for the Marlins. He was the reason he won the Cy Young with a crappy team around him is because he was just so damn good. So, but he's not good this year. And yeah, if I'm Miami, I hold him the next year. I wouldn't even entertain it. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, you're not going to get a fair offer for him this year. He is a negative 1.8 WAR this year. So 23, 7 and 12, 414. But yeah, he had Tommy John. This year, 4.9 and a 7.14 ERA. I know it's trending down. That's great. He's still giving up 77 earned runs over 97 innings, which, by the way, leads all the majors for qualified starters. He's given up 13 freaking home runs after giving up 22 before he went down with Tommy John. The numbers are not trending in the right way, and I understand. Year one after Tommy John is usually rough. I understand that. I'm not seeing enough that, to me, if I'm buying, says, hey, I'm going to give you a good prospect, because I'm not seeing that. And to the Marlins, they should absolutely say, well, he's only 1 year off. We think it'll be better next year. We're not going to sell low. So, yeah, I think that's exactly it. You listen and say, yeah, no, we'll talk next year when we inevitably suck again. But, yeah, Edward Cabrera, that's going to get Miami a nice haul back. And honestly, Yuri Perez should as well. For the Pirates, they should be, as usual, getting rid of any veterans on an expiring contract. I feel like we say this every year, and I don't feel like we need to go any deeper into depth than that. Also, to all the writers out there that are coming up with these fantasy ideas that the Pirates are going to trade Paul Skeens, if you're not unloading your entire top 30, the Pirates aren't trading Paul Skeens right now. Just get that out of your head. It's not happening.
No, I think
the A's
the
now
pieces that make the most sense with.
Sorry.
No, the pieces that make the most sense with the Pirates is Keller, Cabrian Hayes, and maybe David Bednar. Those are the three that really stick out as possible movers.
I'm amazed Bednar hasn't been traded the last three deadlines, to be completely honest.
Yeah, me too.
It's got to happen once. Yeah, I feel like this is the Pirates now. They've been in a perpetual rebuild for so damn long now. Get the guys you need, support Skeens, and try and make a real team, please. You've got a beautiful ballpark, as we mentioned earlier. It's ridiculous that you are continuously in rebuild mode for this long when you have one of the best pitchers in baseball. Come on, build a damn team. And for the other team with a shitty owner, let's talk about the A's. That's a better segue. I like that one. We'll scrap the first take the second take. The A's should absolutely be listening for deals for Luis Severino, because he does not want to be there, even though he knew where he'd be pitching for the duration of this contract, and he chased the money, and that's on him. But at the same point, he's pitched spectacularly on the road and still has not had a win at home. So I think they could get something decent for Severino, and they should. Is this the point where, if you're the A's, you say, hey, we'll make Brent Rooker available, give us your offer? Do you think this is the point to do that for the A's, or do you think you try and hold on and hedge your bets for one more year? Because Mason Miller was so bad to start the year. I don't think his value has rebounded enough that they would get fair return to make him available.
Well, I mean, here's the thing with Mason Miller. He's under control until 29. So
forget it.
You would have to basically empty the tank to get him, especially with some of the other guys available. You're going to have Griffin Jackson available probably with the Twins. You're going to have Duran available from the Twins. You're going to have maybe Clase if the Guardians change their mind. And Jeffrey Springs is another reliever that the Guardians have that could be available. So there's going to be plenty of bullpen arms available, I think, and closers available that I don't necessarily think. I mean, Miller's definitely not going to happen. Severino could happen. I think of the starters there, probably JP Sears makes the most sense to go somewhere. Mm-hmm. I'm not exactly sure where that would be, but I think he would be a solid 4 or 5 guy on any other club. So, yeah,
we'll have to see. I think Severino is going to be buyer's remorse if they don't trade him at some point in this contract, though. The Nationals, anybody who's impending free agent again should go. Kyle Finnegan should go. Michael Soroka for a team that needs a 4-5 guy, or even a long reliever out of the bullpen. He's great for that. And Ahmed Rosario should also be gone. For the White Sox, they don't have much to trade out because they didn't really bring any veterans in. But Luis Robert, I know he hasn't been good. I know he's been so disappointing the last couple of years. But do you think there's a team that's going to take a chance on the potential?
I think you certainly could see somebody do that. I mean, look, if I were getting my head kicked in every day, I don't know how good I would play either. So I mean, a change of scenery could make a huge difference for Robert, I think. So I mean, I would look for that. I could see someone doing a change of scenery move for him, and sort of, I mean, being an extra outfielder, Philly could make sense for that.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if Philly's not the answer, to be honest, because they've got the type of assets the White Sox won. So,
yeah.
And then the last obvious seller team is, of course, the team in the basement, the Colorado Rockies, who are playing so wonderfully, brilliantly bad this year. I'm just curious. I haven't checked lately how far down. All right, we're at 24-75. That's a 242 percentage, 33.5 back in the division, 30.5. 30.5. Oh my God. Wow. Yeah, another historically awful team that, because of the CBA rules saying you can have a top 5 guy so many times, and it's just is this fine? Let's face it, the Rockies have been sellers for years, and they don't pull the trigger at the deadline other than small deals like Pierce Johnson to the Braves 2 years ago. Is this finally the time where they trade guys that they need to trade and start to reload what's been a really underwhelming farm system for a very long time? I mean, I love picking up Matt Holliday's kid in the draft because, let's face it, if the Rockies had drafted anybody else at 4, they would have been laughed out. They're gonna pick 10 this next year because of the CBA rules. Herman Marquez should be on the block. Ryan McMahon should be on the block. Are they finally going to trade the assets that they have that they should be trading?
Should they? Yes. Will they? No.
Yeah. I even with the change at GM and manager, I don't think they're going to do it. It would be such a shock if they did, and I hope they do, because they should, but I don't see it.
I mean, you look at what happened with Tulowitzki and Story, and Arenado. Like, you had the greatest 3/4 of an infield, and you didn't trade any of them. You let them walk. So
you got nothing back.
Yeah, I don't expect them to be any smarter this time around. I mean, I'll be pleasantly surprised if they are.
All right, that's by and large it for what I had for buy and sell. Joe, do you have anything else? I feel like we were actually relatively concise and decently detailed at the same time. Anything else you wanted to mention?
Nope, nothing else.
All right. That's a first for us. All right, let's move it into the Down on the Farm. So first, we had an awesome alternate team come out. The Erie Seawolves were temporarily rebranded by HBO's John Oliver as the Moon Mammoths. This was great. John Oliver did. He offered minor league teams the opportunity to have him and his HBO's Last Week Tonight staff rebrand under the guise that they would have full control over the rebrand. And he did say later that it would not have to be permanent. So they came up, they apparently there were like 40 freaking teams that reached out and said, we would like to be considered for this. So they went with Erie. And the reason they did it, he said literally, quote, they have a quirky history around them. And he's right. 34 years ago, George Moon was scuba diving in Lake Pleasant. He found a bone that was nearly 3 foot long. He thought it was a dinosaur bone initially. Professor Jude Kirkpatrick from Gannon University identified it as a mastodon or mammoth scapula. And so their team of Last Week Tonight decided to go with the Moon Mammoths, hearkening back to George Moon and the mammoth tusk. And John Oliver threw out the first pitch to George Moon, which he dropped, but who cares? It didn't matter. The HBO team decided to go with purple and black for the jerseys and hats. And honestly, it was solid. it was a solid choice for the uniforms. A little hard to read, but for a group of TV people just doing uniforms for the first time, it looked pretty good. John Oliver also emceed a mid-game race in which the newly created Fuzz-E Mammoth, a large purple creature in astronaut gear, he outpaced the Baysock mascot Louie in that race. That was funny as hell. Pull the video up if you missed it. John Oliver's jersey is going to be donated to the National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum's collection. Joe, they sold the crowd out. Team record 7,070 fans. Some were lined up as early as 7 hours before first pitch to get the giveaway Moon Mammoth squishy. And they had a ton of especially purple food. They had purple cotton candy, mammoth balls, deep fried pepperoni with cheese covered in edible violet glitter, and mammoth ears, the fried dough pastry topped with ice cream and purple sprinkles. Personally, of the three of them, I'm going with the mammoth balls because I love pepperoni. I can't get enough of that. I'm not really big on the desserts most of the time, but the mammoth ears sounded good too. John Oliver said minor league baseball is one of the great things America has because, remember, he's English. If you're lucky enough to have a minor league team anywhere near you, support it. And frankly, that quote I 100% agree with. Support your minor league teams. They're so special for the local community, and we're lucky to have 3 with an easy driving distance of, well, I'd say 4 with an easy driving distance between York and Harrisburg, or York and Lancaster in the Atlantic League, and then Harrisburg and Reading in AA as well. Oliver used the show, of course, to request the submissions. The Moon Mammoths, they're coming back. They're going to be back August 19th against our somewhat local Senators and September 12th through 13th against Altoona. Honestly, the idea worked. I really hope John Oliver and his team do this at least once or twice a year for other teams because they knocked it out of the park. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought it was the uniform and the mascot stuff was awesome. So, it's nice to do these kind of things, and it worked out nicely.
All right, now let's move it into Down on the Farm. Limited stats this week because the minor leagues were also in their All-Star break. Ironically, everybody I'm going to feature is from the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders, the AAA affiliate of the Yankees. 2 hitters, 1 pitcher this week. Our first hitter is Jose Rojas, In his 3 games, he had 12 at-bats, scored 5 runs, 7 hits, a double, a triple, 4 home runs, 7 RBIs, a walk, and 2 strikeouts. That's a slash line of 583, 600, 1.833. Not bad. Then the other guy is Spencer Jones, an outfielder with Scranton Wilkes-Barre. Only played 2 games with 10 at-bats. And talk about making the most of your bats, Joe. 5 runs, 8 hits, 2 doubles, 3 homers, 5 RBIs, 1 walk, 1 strikeout, slash line of 800, 818, 1.9. Again, I know limited because of the All-Star break, but that's a pretty damn good week in my book. All right, and then the pitcher for this week. Sorry, my tab moved on me. My pitcher this week, again, also Scranton Wilkes-Barre, Brandon Beck. 1 start. He only went 5 innings. No hits, no runs, 1 hit batsman, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts. It's a whip of .2 and an average against of 0. I know he didn't pitch a lot, but that's dominating pitching right there.
Yeah.
All right. Injury news. Alec Boehm of the Phillies, third baseman, fractured at left rib, 10-day IL. He actually got injured a week ago before the break. He sat that Sunday. They did try to play him Friday night. So they can only go retroactive back to Friday because of the game played. So he'll be out for a little bit. Isaac Paredes of the Astros, he has a right hamstring strain. He's on the 10-day IL. Atlanta's Austin Riley, because apparently this is third baseman get injured over the last week and a half. Strained right abdomen, but he should be coming back tomorrow or Wednesday from what I've been reading from Mark Bowman. Any other injuries I missed?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Yeah, shouldn't be anything major because thank God for the All-Star break, giving us a break from injuries. Any milestones? I didn't notice any in the last couple.
No, I didn't see any.
Okay. All right, Joe, who do you have for hot pitcher? Or excuse me, not hot pitcher, hot team. We're going to skip the hot hitter, hot pitchers this week because there wasn't a lot of action.
Right. To me, the hottest team in the league right now is Milwaukee. They're on a 10-game winning streak. And now going into the games tonight, they were tied with the Cubs for the Central. I said at the beginning of the year, it's Milwaukee's division until you take it from them. And to Milwaukee's credit, they've fought back and are not going to give this up easily. And it's time to put up or shut up for the Cubs.
Agreed. Yeah, and the Cubbies should have known this was coming. They should have known this was coming. So yeah.
You stole their manager, and they still won the division from you last year. So it didn't matter. So I think the scrappy small ball game they play is it translates well, and it makes them able to get hot at any time, and they've gotten hot at this time, and it's time to figure things out.
Agreed. For me, hot team right now, I'm going to go with the Blue Jays. 7-3 in the last 10 and on a 4-game winning streak coming out of the break and at the top of the AL East. Now, I mentioned it earlier in buy or sell. I like the Blue Jays. There's a lot to like about that team right now. And Vlad Jr. should be very happy with that long-term deal he signed with how things are going right now.
Yeah, and I think just one other thought, or I guess two other thoughts with hot teams is Arizona's on a 4-game winning streak, so if that continues, they'll definitely either stay put or maybe buy. And Boston, outside of losing the series this weekend to the Cubs, they've won 11 of 13, so they're in a really good spot too.
Good calls. One thing before we wrap up, I did want to share. I forgot to put in the sheet the Braves and the Reds revealed the special uniforms they'll wear for the Bristol Motor one-off that they're doing. So here, Cincinnati, they've got the checkered flag design on the hats. Both teams are going to be using NASCAR-style numbers. Not a huge difference here with the Reds and with the Reds. Oh shoot, my whole thing closed. Give me a second here. With their main uniform, other than moving the number up to the front. Sorry, I'm pulling it back up. My bad. The entire tab collapsed on me. De La Cruz, they had De La Cruz here, and
the only I like that they didn't do much. I like that they kept their traditional uniforms and just made a number and a hat change. I think it's sharp. It's a great one-off.
I like what they did with green. When you look at the back here with greens, it's a perfect mock-up of the NASCAR numbers, but it doesn't go away from what the teams do normally. Mm-hmm. Again with Martinez here, and they showed off the helmets too. I actually really like the script and the special helmets that they're going to have. I don't know if they're going to use these bats, but if they do, that's going to be really cool looking. Here you can see Atlanta's. They've got the flames instead of the checkered flag on the hats. They didn't change the name in the back font. They didn't need to. I don't really like how the one's offset a little bit to the right. I think with NASCAR naturally being slanted, they should have bumped it over a couple, but I'm just quibbling at this point. Here's Atlanta's helmet. I really like Atlanta's. I wish they would have done the script A, but I understand that doesn't fit the NASCAR motif. So I'm fine with the block A as it is. One thing I did notice here, I don't know how well you can see it, Joe. They brought the red piping out a little bit more in the away Navy uniforms, so I like the pop there for that. Honestly, I as you know, I have low expectations when Nike does special uniforms anymore because they screw up more than they do well. But these are solid.
And I think there's no real complaints here. They didn't overdo it, as they often do. So.
And for a one-off at Bristol Motor, they're fine. They're going to look great on TV. It's going to be a quirky-ass game. I know Cincinnati. I'm glad Cincinnati lost the home game and not us, to be honest. And I did pull up on Google Maps because I was curious. Cincinnati is very slightly closer to Bristol than Atlanta is. It's not by much. I think it's less than 20 miles, but Cincinnati is slightly closer, so they are the deserving home team. Thank God it's not us. All right. So that's it for us this week. Joe, do you have anything else before we wrap?
Nope.
All right, guys, audio is available on Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, anywhere you can find podcasts. We're live on YouTube and Facebook. Merchandise is at redbubble.com. Follow us on Facebook at facebook.com. Dollar Dogs and Beer. We're presented by Dark Arrow Podcast LLC and sponsored by Baron Barbershop over in Manheim. Guys, may your dogs always cost $1. May your beer always be cold. Have a good one. We'll see you next week.